Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stages of Sound. Let me do that again.
Well, we're keeping that in. Go.
No.
Boom, boom.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to Stages of Sound, or welcome to Stages of Sound if you've never been here before. Your one-stop shop for video game music conversations. My name is...
We're not selling anything. Not yet, anyway.
We're selling information.
We're selling our takes, I guess, but it's all free. Aren't we great value people? I'm
Jack,
Jack,
did I forget to tell you? It's all premium now. You have to pay $10.
Oh, right, of course. Otherwise, you're rate limited. You can only hear 160 words per day, right?
You can listen to the first 3 minutes of the podcast where we don't actually talk about anything interesting. Okay.
Case in point. Yeah, you're using up your time right now as we're going.
Exactly. For those of you who don't know what we talk about video game music because we think it's cool. And this week we're talking about what game? What game are we talking about?
We're talking about Pokémon Scarlet and Violet specifically for the Nintendo Switch, released in 2023, right? It came out this year? Am I insane? Did it come out in 2022?
No, it came out in 2022, I think, right? Late 2022
Oh, I have the Wikipedia article pulled up. It was, late 2022.
October.
Yep. The composers for this game are credited as Minako Adachi, Junichi Masuda, the legend, Go Ichinose, also the legend. Those are the two most recognizable names. They've worked on a lot of different Pokemon games.
Well, one of the names in here is also very recognizable.
Well, hang on, we're not there yet. We got Hiromitsu Maeba, Teruo Taniguchi, Hitomi Sato, and Toby Fukusu.
There are so many people. Yeah. That's a lot of composers.
That is a lot of composers, and I've got a hunch as to why that might be. It might have something to do with the fact that the soundtrack is 5+ hours long.
Yeah, I didn't listen to all of it before this episode. Not the whole thing.
Really? I mean, you've played the game all the way through, right?
The game.
So
I think it's more important to talk about how it interacts with the gameplay itself and not just the tracks standalone. But it's all important.
It is all important. And I did listen to the whole soundtrack, but that's also because to get into our experiences with this game, I personally have only played probably 2/3 of it, if I had to guess.
Really?
I didn't beat the champion. I got to the Elite Four. Isn't that how far you'd say we got?
Mm-hmm.
Mackenzie and I did a Soul Link Nuzlocke. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort of Iron Man run where if one of your Pokemon dies, it's gone forever. Most people listening to this will know what a Nuzlocke is, but
I'm sure.
We stopped at the Elite Four because Larry is about to kill us, and it's been in that situation for 4 months now. So
yeah, it's still there. Yeah. My safe. If I open it, I'm standing in a corner, looking away from Larry.
just pretend he isn't there, and he can't hurt you. So yeah, I've heard a good bit of the soundtrack, but especially a bunch of the really late game stuff. I don't have a ton of context for it. You played it through all the way, right?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the late game stuff a little bit. If you haven't, I'm going to get this out of the way now because it's not really an important part of the soundtrack. Do you know about the end credits?
The end credits?
Yeah.
No, that's one of the ones I didn't really pay attention to.
So we're not going to play that in this episode because it's an Ed Sheeran song.
Okay, I think I actually have heard about this.
A bunch of streamers.
There was an Ed Sheeran song in the trailer as well, right?
I think it's the same song. A bunch of streamers got DMCA jump scared by the final credits,
and they got copyright claimed. Well, what's so weird is that Ed Sheeran is British, right?
Yeah.
And the Generation 8, this is Generation 9. Generation 8 was set in the Britain equivalent.
Yeah.
Why didn't they have an Ed Sheeran song for that?
I don't know.
This is the Spanish one.
It's a bit different though. I feel when I think of Ed Sheeran, I don't think of Britain. I think of Ed Sheeran. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, what sort of music do you think of when you think of Britain? Yeah, that's what I thought.
The Beatles.
Okay, within
Edward
the past
Elgar,
50 years,
Gustav
has there been anybody
Holst,
that came out right?
Handel.
Right. So I'm just saying they could have gotten a Spanish type. That actually leads decently into one of the first topics I wanted to talk about, which is the use of Spanish instruments in this soundtrack, because this is set in the region of Paldea, and that is Spain themed. All the Pokemon generations and regions are themed around a place in the real world. The first 4 generations were different prefectures in Japan, and then New York, France, Hawaii, Britain, and now
Spain.
Now Spain. And appropriately, they do also have a whole bunch of Spanish-styled music in the soundtrack. What do you think of that?
They
think it works?
They don't go too crazy with it though. Definitely the instrumentation is good. It works for what it is. You've got the mariachi guitar, you've got trumpets here and there.
Yeah, but Pokemon has always had a lot of trumpets, like in every generation.
Yeah, but it's not overwhelmingly Spanish either. It's not like the whole soundtrack is mariachi. Haha, that would be, well, I guess mariachi's Mexican. But...
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I might love to hear that. That would be incredible. Just a full mariachi style Pokemon soundtrack. But they definitely don't go in that direction. I'm happy
that they stayed away from like the kind of stereotype like dun 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 for almost the whole soundtrack except
the Phrygian sound we were talking about last time. Yeah,
except for in the champion theme.
Oh,
they do use it.
Can we actually skip ahead a bit and just talk about Gila's theme, like right now? You want to open with that?
Do you mean Geeta?
Gila is Gila a different person that also exists in that game?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's Geeta. You're right. Excuse me. Do we want to talk about Geeta's theme?
We can. I don't have that much to say about it other than that I like it. But if you don't like it, then that's an interesting conversation.
I don't really like it. Well, that's probably a bit of an overstatement. I think it's decent. Yeah. But like this was one of the ones that I knew going in, like that was specifically handed to Toby Fox to work on.
Was it really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He was like the one person that worked on it. And like the way that song works is it feels like it's broken down into chunks. Where you've got the intro, like every champion theme has like just an intro part, and then there's the generic champion section, followed by the Spanish section, followed by the future section, and those are like the three core parts of this entire soundtrack I found is Pokemon, Spain, and the future, and every song can be broken into those three components, and some have more of them than others, and it feels like in the champion theme, Toby Fox was told, like, make a champion theme for Pokemon, but it has to involve elements of Spain and future. And then he did.
I see. I thought... I could have sworn I looked up, like... Because Toby Fox made a statement on... I'm going to type for a minute, and that might be annoying, but...
If I'm wrong, excuse me, but I was pretty sure about this. That the champion theme specifically was made by him. And I mean... That might just be me trying to confirm my bias of like, oh, he was just fed the ideas and worked with it. But
I'm just looking it up. I'm gonna cut the audio there because you can very clearly see the keystrokes. But anyway, what did he say?
You're just looking this up so that we can verify.
He specifically wrote the Terror Raid battle, obviously, the Academy Ace tournament fight theme, and the Battle Zero Lab, which is against the spoiler warning, I guess. Against the like AI.
The AI? Oh, okay. My bad. I think I heard I'd heard that Toby Fox made the final boss theme.
Right.
And I internalized that before I knew anything about the game as, oh, he made the champion theme, right?
Right. The champion is not the final boss of that game.
In this game, the champion is not the final boss. So I okay. If that's not the case, then like my point, I feel like still stands. I just thought that one of the notes I had was that it felt like it was just someone working off instructions they were given, but
that might still be the case.
It might still be the case.
Might have
it's just not Toby Fox this time.
Yeah.
And in that case, I should apologize to Toby Fox because I think the AI theme is very, very good. So if he did compose that one and not the champion theme, then like
he did.
All is forgiven, Toby Fox. You knocked this one out of the park.
From what I understand, he wrote the AI battle theme, the Area Zero theme. The Star Tournament, which is like the post-game like tournament theme,
right?
And the Terror Raid, and he also wrote the kind of melody that plays in the Academy. That is the one that gets like remixed in all the field themes. So people take the theme. So actually, what he wrote ended up being the theme that all the other composers like took and re-orchestrated into the field themes.
It's the da-da-da-da-da-da, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That part?
Yeah, which is so Toby Fox. Like you can hear it. You can hear the Undertale in it.
If Toby Fox is the one that made that, the problem is every time I hear that, all I think of is every kiss begins with K. Do you know that jingle? Like,
yeah.
Every kiss begins with K. It's almost exactly that.
So you've ruined my brain now, but
It's all I could think of the entire time I was listening to this. And I'm like, they use it so many different times in so many different ways, and it's just this jingle that I've heard for my entire life.
Well, okay, maybe this will help though. I always hear the da 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 from Deltarune in there. It sounds very similar.
I don't know if that's better or worse. It's pretty bad either way.
It's more clearly Toby Fox anyway.
Okay, well, to move on, and still keep it generally in this train of thought, we can move into like the area themes, because the South, when I first heard the soundtrack, I thought that like was just like the southern provinces motif, right?
No, it's everywhere.
No, it's in the whole game, but it's really prominent in the southern province, which is the first one you go to, so it makes sense they'd introduce it like more
establishes
heavily.
The theme. I love that the area themes are just kind of, because you could one argument or complaint could be like, oh, it's the same melody. That's annoying. It's not the same melody. It's all
not in the area themes. I wouldn't say that.
No, it takes similar like motivic material and alters it like pretty drastically depending on where you are, which is pretty sick.
I think I like most of the area themes. I definitely like South, East, and West quite a lot.
I have
my favorite is.
I have East written as like an honorable mention for my favorite track in the game. I think it's fantastic.
Well, East, like, it's chilling out in like 11-4 for a while.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit of that song. It's kind of going crazy. The instrumentation, I really like East in general. I'd say it's mixed more than the other songs, because it's also in the one woods.
It's in like the bamboo forest. It has a mountain kind of remix as well.
Yes, that's probably my favorite version of it. It's like a little gritty, but it's also a little more sparse, and I think that works really well with what they were going for. No, the mountain version, the East Area 3, I think it is. That's my favorite one for sure of those of the East area tracks.
What would you?
No, specifically the East area. I'd say my favorite area theme is the West area. Like the very, and this one's leaning like heavily into the Spanish sort of sound.
That's the one around like Larry's gym, like normal gym, I think.
Yep, I think so. Yep. In part, I really like it because overall, each one of these area themes has a walking and a riding variant, like depending on if you're riding your Pokemon or not. And I don't know if you agree with this. I find most of the riding themes to be downgrades compared to the walking themes, personally. Really? Like, for example,
I don't feel that way for East, for sure.
No, I sort of feel that way for East. East is pretty generic, and the walking theme, but the walking theme is also pretty generic for East. It also gets those extra 2 variations.
The thing about the riding theme is that it's just the walking theme with more instruments.
Well,
for the most part.
But sometimes that gets a little cluttered, I feel like
maybe.
Especially for something like South, when the South's walking theme is just like a solo piano, it works really, really well for it, because that lets you break down the very strong core composition.
Well, it's different at night too, right? Is it?
Is it? I'm not sure on that. I don't think it is.
I can't remember. Okay. Well, I can't say one way or the other. This whole topic of the kind of changing between walking and riding, it kind of feeds into like a larger topic that I had written here, so we'd probably fine to jump into that if we want to.
Sure.
I wanted to talk a bit about adaptive music in video games, which I did in the last episode and the episode before that, because it's just such a important thing when it comes to writing video game music. Do you know what that means?
Right.
Adaptive music?
Adaptive music, yeah. It means music that changes based on what you're doing.
It literally, it means it's music that changes depending on the
adapting
player, which is almost any music in a video game, if I'm being honest. Like
because you can't start the music unless you've done things in the video game.
In Mario Brothers, or Mario 3 or something, when you start the first level, you triggered that track starting by pressing a button, right? Like so. Yep. So that's already an example of adaptive music.
But it's definitely like the least connected. You can get much further than that.
So you can break down adaptive music into 2 kind of different strains. So there's horizontal resequencing, which is horizontal in terms just thinking about time, or how you would look at it on a score. So horizontal resequencing is you'd interact with something in the game, and the track would change. You would go somewhere else and the music would change. So you go from level 1 to level 2, the music changes. That's an example of like a horizontal change. A very simple example.
Okay, even makes me think of, like, for something a little more complex. In Spelunky, in Spelunky 2 in particular, in the very first level, if you ever get down to 1 HP, after it hits like a measure break, it transitions into like the 1 HP version of that, and that's just a different like song essentially that they're strapping onto the end of that.
That's actually, is it a variation on that track?
Yes, but they're not like layering instrumentation on. It's just another part of the song essentially that they're playing a little earlier.
Okay, so yeah, so if it's about the sequencing, then it's horizontal. But if it's the same melodies and same harmonies that are just changing depending on what's happening, that's an example of horizontal reorchestration or horizontal layering.
Not vertical layering?
Sorry, vertical. You're right.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Which is just the same kind of track, same music with different
extra layers,
different orchestration happening. So the thing about
a lot of that is
area
happening
themes,
in this. Yeah.
The thing about the area themes in Pokemon is that it's kind of like a mix of both most of the time. So like it's obviously the horizontal resequencing comes from when you go to one area to another area and the soundtrack changes.
Oh, of course, right.
But I mean, it's not like a direct example of layering because it's not the same track using different elements. It is like when you go from area to area, but since it uses same melodic ideas, it still has elements of vertical layering. It's kind of like it's like nested. It's like within itself. But then,
are you talking specifically about like the central like da-dun-da-dun-da-da-da theme?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think it might be more complex than that. I'm not sure exactly what
I struggle to classify that as vertical layering when you're just taking like one motif and putting it into other songs.
No, but it is because it's the same core idea that is having its surroundings changed. So it's not an entirely different melodic idea. It's the same one that changes depending on what is surrounding it. Like, even though it's not literally the exact like MIDI sound that's happening.
No, I getcha. It just feels hard to tie that into interactivity, if that makes sense, because like you are using horizontal sequencing. What was the exact term?
Yeah.
To get from one song to the other, but like you're not interacting to add those other layers in with that motif being repeated.
Well, I mean, you are by moving. Like that's still interacting.
I suppose so, like, technically, but in
like,
the loosest possible sense.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, like on a smaller and more direct scale, getting on and off Koraidon and Miraidon is just a very obvious example of vertical layering, which I think
that one is obvious. Yep.
Because it is literally relayering like in the track itself. But
and you're jumping in at the exact same point in both tracks. They're just like swapping in and out based on.
Yeah, I mean, and
the tracks are the same besides instrumentation.
Right. My only logic about the like the vertical nature of going from track to track, it's conceptual rather than literal. Like it's not literally in the music that it's vertically changing. It's. I mean, it is because it's a different set of orchestration, like always. It's only considered vertical change with the same track just because of the same melodic ideas. It's just an interesting kind of thought.
Sure. Okay. I get where you're coming from, even if I don't 100% agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
So where were we? That was a bit of a tangent.
A little bit.
The main theme, area themes. Do you want to? We can keep it simple. Do you want to just rank the area themes? Which one's your favorite? Which one's your least?
Well, I don't remember some of them.
There's only 4.
East is my favorite. West is probably my second favorite. I don't remember North, so I'm gonna put it last. And South is my favorite.
I was gonna say North is my least favorite. It's like the snowy one. The instrumentation has a lot of like snowy types of instruments, and it's sort of in an awkward space for me because it's trying to go for a relaxing tone with a lot of its instrumentation, and some parts of it are like more relaxing and down, but also there's like a very tense driving force throughout all of it, which it conflicts with the relaxation. Like it neither hits the peaks of relaxation and chill vibes that snow areas are often known to have, nor does it actually hit like a tense feeling. It just sort of floats awkwardly in the middle, so I'm not a fan personally.
I'll take your word for it.
The fact that you don't remember it probably says something about it.
I do remember some, because like there's the area themes, which is like just the 4 main ones, but there's also like East has a bunch of, we talked about it, like a bunch of different versions. One I forgot about was Tag Tree Thicket, which is the same thing again.
Is that not the Bamboo Forest? Because that's what I was talking about with the East reorchestration.
Oh, I was talking about the like kind of late game area near the Fighting Team Star. Is that a different track?
I don't think that's a reorchestration of
maybe
East,
not East, but it does. Never mind. Okay, but it uses the same melodic ideas.
Right.
Tag Tree, it's not Bamboo, but it's a cool way of. Oh, I see what you mean now with the harshness. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
The other one's Casseroya Lake, which is pretty cool. I like that one a lot.
I like Casseroya Lake a lot because it feels like it's just a lake, and there's nothing really special about it looking at
just like piano and harp, nice and like serene.
But the music, I struggle calling it serene because it feels like mysterious and sort of not spooky,
really?
But you get the sense that this is like, this is an endgame area, if it makes sense. It communicates that to you, that the enemies here are gonna destroy you if you're not ready for them, even in the serene nature of it.
Am I thinking of a different Casseroya Lake? Because I don't.
No, Casseroya Lake is the
all.
endgame one.
I mean, I know it's endgame, but it feels
soundtrack.
very gentle and very like calming. I don't know. Nothing about the music to me was like, you're about to encounter level 50 Dundozo out of nowhere.
No, it is calming. I'm not going to say it was tense or anything, but like, it felt mysterious, I guess is the way I'll put it.
Sure.
And that in itself sort of communicates, some degree of endgameness, but maybe I'm looking too far into it.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. I mean, to each their own, and people get what they... people get different things out of the soundtrack, so the fact that you...
Yeah, I like the tone of it, for sure.
You may have just interpreted it the way that it was supposed to be interpreted, and then I just didn't really grasp that.
Yeah, maybe.
What I do like that Casseroya does is that I feel like it doesn't melodically take much from the other area themes, but the harmony is still very similar. It has a lot of harmonic motion. Yeah, I've never really analyzed it or anything like that, but it definitely has some of the same harmonic motion as some of the other area themes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I appreciated that it didn't reuse the Every Kiss Begins with K theme too often in it. So
you gotta stop calling it that.
It's what my brain calls it, I'm afraid. So I don't know what else to do.
Sure.
My favorite... I already said that North was my least favorite of the area themes, but I really, really do like the West theme, especially I was of the opinion that the riding versions are weaker, and I know you don't necessarily agree, but I do quite like the riding version of the West area as well.
Okay.
So that's a plus for me. And I like the clackers, that percussive element, and the rhythmic guitar it has. Castanets, that's the term. I'm glad you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So the desert theme is very, very similar. It's actually just a orchestration. Like how Tag Tree Thicket and East Area 3 were arrangements of East Area. The desert is like a more sparse and like desert twangy version of West Area, which I like that quite a lot.
Cool.
Yeah. Especially the walking version is very, very bare. It feels like,
traditional
traditional spaghetti western style music, I guess. Which I don't know if that fits with the Spain theme, but it's interesting and fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder what other direction they could take the desert theme, because I think the other option for like a popular video game is to go like the Middle Eastern route. It's that or like American West.
But actually, now that I think about it, deserts usually like, how do I put it? This desert is very traditionally like Middle Eastern desert. It feel in the feel of it anyway. And the visuals, it doesn't seem much like Nevada, but it does use like that Nevada instrumentation for whatever reason. And in most video games, that's not the case, is it? If it looks like a desert and not like a wasteland like the Nevada sort of looks more like, then it just goes with the traditional Middle Eastern music, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of examples where they go Western unless it's like cowboy themed.
I was gonna say, if it goes Western, there's usually like a kind of rundown old West town,
Exactly. You see exactly what I mean, right?
Yeah, I can't think. Well, I think the vast majority of desert themes do go with the kind of Middle Eastern influence.
Right.
But
so, I mean, I think this works for it, even if it's maybe not like thematically appropriate, but it still feels right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good track one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, where should we go from here?
From here,
what is your? Do you have a favorite track across the whole soundtrack?
We probably should have gotten into that sooner to try to keep our format going from the previous episode.
It's fine.
My favorite song from the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why don't we actually break this down into two parts? Our favorite, like, battle theme, and then our favorite other theme.
Oh, sure.
My favorite battle theme is probably Penny's theme.
Yeah, me too.
It's
That's what I have.
Okay, we're both so basic. I'm sad.
I disagree,
Like,
because I think the Team Star music is very complex, and I think it's very cool. Conceptually more so than the music itself, but yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? And is that related to Penny's theme?
Well,
Did I miss a connection in there?
It's not related to Penny's theme, like the character theme that plays, but it is connected to the Team Star kind of thematic. It's not like a remix of anything, but it's a kind of aesthetic style that goes along with Team Star. But
Okay, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. She is using the same sorts of instrumentation and color to her music. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
so you don't think that's basic? It's the one that had the most views on YouTube, which is the one I called it basic.
I mean, I almost went with the the legendary Pokemon theme against the Ruin quartet. Like
also very good.
Legendaries. It's very good.
Yeah.
I'm making a video about Pokemon legendary music, and it's included in that. But in terms of Penny's theme, though, it's very good. I listen to it more so just because, like, any song that has that kind of like really driving like bass like that, I just put it on headphones and I just vibe for a while. Like it just it scratches a very internal brain itch. It's very good.
Yes. I was like listening, just like waking up a couple days ago. That song was just playing in my head as I woke up because it's an earworm, you know.
Yeah. It reminds me
very,
of like it gives me the same kind of energy that Friday Night Funkin'. Do you?
I do. Where is this going?
MILF. From Friday Night Funkin' has a very similar energy. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it.
What I like in particular, it feels to me like a lot of the... how do I put this? You know that I'm like a very melody-centric sort of person. Like, that's not to say I can't enjoy more atmospheric or elaborate harmonies or all that, but I really enjoy when songs have a very strong driving core melody.
Sure.
And Penny's theme in particular really has that, and that's part of why Generation 8, Sword and Shield are my favorite soundtracks. It's because a lot of those songs have very, very strong core melodies. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And what I learned is apparently Penny is from Gen 8, and one of the notes I had before I learned that was that her theme feels like a Galar theme done in Scarlet and Violet instrumentation. Like,
well,
do you sort of get what I mean?
I do understand. She's not from Gen 8, she's from Galar.
She's from Galar. You know what I mean.
Yeah. I do not feel like it was done in the style of Paldea soundtrack, because I feel like all of Team Star is very kind of disjointed from the rest of the soundtrack.
What I in particular mean by that is it has that like very how do I describe it? It has a very particular type of synth that they use a lot in like the future tracks in Paldea. In Scarlet and Violet. That sort of synth is very common in this soundtrack in particular.
Really?
They don't really use it... Well, Gen 8 in particular doesn't use a ton of synths overall, but especially not this type. Like, you'll hear it, like, it's that percussive synth, like the... I don't want to try to describe it. It would probably just sound really terrible.
Well, I mean, it's probably playing right now, so you can probably...
The really high-end, like, synth that's, like, driving on every beat. And that's present in a lot of the battle songs in particular. So that's mostly what I mean by it's in the style of it.
I see.
But you're right in that it is also the instrumentation is very similar to the Team Star themes, obviously.
It is a Team Star theme. But what I was more getting at is that all the Team Star themes feel very disjointed from the rest of the soundtrack of that game. Because I feel like the rest of the soundtrack of the game follows a very like consistent kind of set of instrumentation. Like it's an orchestra, but with like a emphasis on, say, rhythmic guitar or that whatever the melodic instrument,
like flamenco style.
Yeah, exactly. But Team Star, it's very like Eurobeat. You know, like all of them have that kind of like European like dance pop kind of feel.
True. Yeah.
Which I think is great, and I think it's because it's implied to have been written by Giacomo.
By Giacomo?
Yeah, one of the...
Is that a Spanish Eurobeat
no,
writer?
he's the Team Star member that's like a DJ. And I think it's the music that plays during like the raids.
Oh, you think the music is diegetic? Like it's actually playing when you're in the trials?
I think it's implied. I don't remember exactly, but I think that's like canonically hinted at in game that he writes the music for them.
That would be
which
incredible.
would explain why it's like different from the rest of
so
the
different, yeah,
non-diegetic music from the rest of it.
Then do you think that means that he also wrote Penny's theme?
I think so,
because she's
which
their
is
boss?
interesting. So I this is not entirely original ideas. I've been like kind of looking this up and seeing other people's takes on it. Yeah,
right.
Penny's theme does not really match her as a character at all, to be completely honest, because she's just like a small person with this like really kind of driving, like loud, almost menacing kind of like boss theme.
But the core melody itself is also very like simple and straightforward, isn't it? Like it's slow almost. So I feel like it's saying something like her nature as the boss of Team Stars is making the backing like really intense and the lead up to the drop really crazy. But like the actual melody itself is pretty simple and normal.
Are we thinking of the same?
That's
melody?
not the making.
Like
yeah,
the
like da 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 da.
I don't feel like it's slow or like simple at all. I think it's very
well,
driving
compared to like
and intense.
compare it to the Team Star themes themselves, right? Like it is a driving and determined theme, but Penny's not like a weak person. She's making an effort to break up this gang, you know?
Right, but okay, humor me for a second.
Sure.
With the idea that Giacomo wrote the music for them, there's the track that plays against like the raids and the Team Star bases. There's the track that plays when you fight like the Team Star members themselves, which is like a kind of pseudo boss theme. It is a boss theme, really.
Right.
And then there's the theme against Penny. The thing is, they had never seen Penny. None of them had. They knew Cassiopeia. They knew this like mysterious boss. So he
think this is the theme of them? What they think Penny
wrote,
is like?
Yeah, exactly. He wrote a theme for Cassiopeia, this like mysterious like head honcho of Team Star, without knowing what Penny's character actually was.
I can see it, but I still don't think that means that it doesn't fit. And I think it fits her just fine.
I think it fits. Personally. I think it fits the boss of Team Star perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think there's overlap there. But I see where you're coming from as well. I don't know. I always thought the like when you compare the melody of it to the like core melodies of the Team Star bosses, like which are super disjointed. Like there isn't even really a core melody to latch onto in those for a lot of it. The riffs are great. Don't get me wrong. Like and I really like the shouting, the use of the vocals in those tracks as well. Those are great. The Team Star boss theme is great, but it's a lot less like it doesn't have nearly as much of a core melody as Penny's theme does, and I think that's supposed to represent like her individuality in it.
Sure, I think having a melody like that is a very climactic thing to do. Like that's something that you'd put in like a final boss theme, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I don't think that's at odds with what I'm saying though. Anyway, Penny's theme is great. I think that's the conclusion. It was both of our favorite battle themes. So.
But we had a lot of clashing opinions on it, though.
Yeah, for whatever. I mean, that probably speaks to how good of a song it is that we both thought it's amazing for different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then you said like the non
yeah.
theme?
Well,
mine.
If we both have Penny's theme as our favorite, should we both come up with a second favorite battle theme? Do you think?
Oh god. Well, then mine's Treasures of Ruin. The legendary boss theme.
Oh yeah, that's pretty fair.
It's
I can see that.
The desert didn't use the kind of typical Middle Eastern kind of themes. This one does, but it uses it in a really kind of I almost want to say authentic way. I'm not in like a cultural position to say whether or not it's authentic,
right?
But I've done enough research on it to kind of understand where it's coming from. It uses like a scale that's like from Indian Carnatic classical music, a raga or a rag, which you can describe it using Western music, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You know, it's a double harmonic major scale, which is when you play it, it's just like, oh, it's the desert sound. You know, it's the Middle Eastern sound, which is it speaks
right.
for Western kind of consumption of that kind of music.
Sensibilities, yeah.
But it's using this melodic and harmonic material that is authentic to Indian classical music. The other thing is that, you listen to that track, I'm sure.
Yes, yep.
You know, kind of towards the end of it, it kind of brings out this like almost toy piano, it sounds like, kind of a percussive like pentatonic thing that you're not really, that it kind of breaks away from what's been happening up until that point.
Yeah. Yep.
They're like dun 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 dun, that bit.
Yeah, it's pretty striking.
That is I got actually into a bit of an argument in a comment section on YouTube with some people who are like, oh no, it's a toy piano because that's the instrument library that they were using in the DAW. And I'm like, frick off.
In the what?
The digital audio workstation. Like, it's the synth that they were using to make the sound, but I'm like,
no.
They
think they had pinpointed the exact, like, sound font that they were using?
And they may have, and it sounds like a toy piano, but that doesn't mean that's what it is meant to be.
Okay, right.
And in my understanding, it sounds to me a lot like something called Indonesian gamelan, which is like a percussion ensemble from Indonesia that has, when they're playing in a specific tonality, it sounds almost identical to the sound that section of that theme is trying to come up with. And if you're kind of running on this train of like pretty authentic sounding like South Asian music, I think that would be a great way to round it off. And it makes me mad when people are like, no, it's a toy piano, because that's what the electronic instrument that they're using is. I'm like,
that's the less important part.
Use a little bit of critical thought, please. But anyway, it's very cool. I like it a lot. I think it's great.
It's a great theme. It's a lot more, I'm not gonna say low-key than most Legendary songs, but like,
I see what you mean though.
It's not nearly as bombastic as the others, at least. And that's part of that is probably leaning into like the mysterious, for lack of a better term, sound of the South Asian, style.
It gets a bit problematic when you go into like, oh, it's mysterious because of
I agree. I want to emphasize, I used heavy quotation marks as I said that.
That's the one. I've been writing the script for this legendary Pokemon video. I have to. There are a few eggshells that you need to tread through to be respectful.
I understand.
But yeah. Anyway,
it should be emphasized. All of this does slap.
Yep, it's all very good, and I think it does what it. Well, because my only problem with it is that I think it might be using this kind of like. I like to say it's like, oh, it's different from the Spanish feel because it's supposed to represent this kind of, not foreign, but like ancient kind of threat, like these ancient treasures. But if you're using
that is trying to be expressed by using like a foreign culture's sound
I think it's absolutely what that's doing. I think that it uses kind of, but I like to think of it more as like, oh, it's different from Spain, so it's like literally contrasting musically. But I don't necessarily vibe with the whole like it's
right.
South
it is
Asian
Middle Eastern and therefore it's weird and creepy.
It's like okay. Yep. But I mean, regardless
raises
of all
some unfortunate implications.
I'm not super qualified to talk about any of that, but it's good. It sounds good. I think it sounds great.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah. What's your kind of second favorite battle theme then?
My second favorite battle theme. I mean, I want to say the AI theme. Because it is great.
Hell yeah.
Like, and knowing that Toby Fox made it now, I'm proud of the guy. He knocked it out of the park.
He also wrote the Area Zero, and they both use that same kind of
that's what I'm talking about.
Motif.
Is the reason I don't want to say the AI theme is because I mostly like it because like Area Zero is probably my favorite song in the game. Like,
yeah, Area Zero is fantastic.
Area Zero is so good, and the AI theme is very, very similar to it, and it's obviously arranged more like a battle theme. But
none of that Area stuff sounds very Pokemon-like, though, and Area Zero doesn't feel very Pokemon-like either.
Well, what I actually was going to compare it to was it feels a lot like Temporal Tower, and in particular Temporal Spire from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky.
Oh,
it has that sort of like ancient, mysterious, time-based theme, right?
Sure.
That's the number one thing that made me think of, and that's great because I love the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon soundtrack. So like, I love the AI theme, but I think I mostly love it because I like Area Zero. And so what I'm gonna do instead of saying that, is I'm gonna say Area Zero is my favorite area theme, and then my second favorite battle theme is probably the Nimona refight.
Oh yeah, no, that one's good. You know what's really funny?
Oh,
Toby Fox wrote that too.
Really?
Oh wait, maybe not.
I didn't think he did. He wrote like the Ace Trainer fight,
That's
right?
True.
Like
That's
the Ace tournament.
Right, but that is a different track when Nimona fights in it. Ignore me. I'm wrong.
Yes. Yep. And the Nimona refight is also like what you do right after the champion fight, right? I thought that's when it played.
Yes, and it also plays, I think, when you fight her in the. Well, I might be wrong about that. Actually, never mind.
Either way, I don't love the base Nimona fight that you hear a couple times through the game as you fight her, right?
Yeah, you fight her like 3 times or something.
Yeah, that one, it feels a little slow, a little like, it's obviously just like a friendly sparring theme, but That's exactly how I would describe it, yeah. But, like, when they rearrange it, I think they do a great job. They really pick up the pace. And, like, my favorite part of the original Nimona theme is when I think it modulates into the minor. I might be wrong on the specifics of that, but, like, right at the end of Nimona's theme, there's, like, 8 measures where the guitar takes over, and it turns very serious for, like, a little bit, and it feels like that's maybe hinting at her nature as, like, a really, really strong trainer who's just sort of walking you through this.
But then, like,
after 8 measures, it just goes right back to the beginning, and now it's, like, light and unserious again.
I see.
And what I really like about the Nimona refight is that, like, that section is what's expanded upon the most. And instead of the guitar picking up, the guitar's been going through the entire refight. The piano picks it back up at the start of that, and it starts going crazy with that very serious sound in an already more serious piece, right? So the Nimona refight is very good. I quite enjoy it.
I would agree. I think it's pretty great. I don't really like Nimona as a character that much. But...
No, and like honestly, this could be like one of the main points that I want to go through here, but I don't want to like harp on it. Is that like it feels like these songs don't deserve to be tied to this game. And that's maybe the meanest way I could possibly put it, but that's the core of what I want to get through here.
Are you putting down the whole game for that?
No.
Okay.
Sort of, but no. Like when I think of like Castle Royale Lake is such a beautiful theme, and it just gets tied to like this generic nothing lake in the end game.
Expansive water with a lot of dundozos that you gotta
move
like around.
And it's so visually uninteresting. The stuff like nothing really happens there, and I get that like it's Pokemon, it's all supposed to be light. Nothing was ever going to happen in the other Pokemon games. Nothing crazy happens in just lakes.
Friggin' whale guy that you fight.
Right.
It's a Titan.
But I think about something like Xenoblade, and like how all of these songs are attached to these incredible set pieces, and they both complement each other. And it feels like in this game in particular, the songs are really pulling overtime. You know what I mean? Like they are setting the tone, and they are alone in doing it.
Yeah, and that's something that I have marked in my notes. It doesn't feel like it does. There are certain tracks, of course, that feel like Pokemon tracks, very obviously, but a lot of it doesn't. But a lot of that might just reflect that it's like an open world game and like it has to behave a bit differently than old Pokemon games.
Right. Yeah, I can sort of see that. And didn't Toby Fox work a little bit on Sword and Shield as well? So it won't be. It's not like it's entirely his influence.
He just did the Battle Tower. He was
a guest writer.
He was a guest writer that didn't have any influence over the soundtrack itself. So it was a very kind of
this one.
Yeah, it was a different dynamic than Sword and Shield,
So that might explain it, but I don't even really feel like it's the whole Kiss Begins with K thing that marks it apart. But I mean, it's not like the other Pokemon games have gone this crazy with the motifs either. So
no,
yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to pin down.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to listen to it. I think sometimes I think. Nimona's rematch theme, or like the final fight against Nimona, could have done maybe a better job of like adapting her own theme and then like building on something that had been in the earlier fights or something. But
I agree. Like I think of like the Galar songs and like how Hop and Marnie Hop right?
How is Alola Hop is.
Yeah. I really like how Hop and Marnie's themes in particular, when you rematch them in the Elite Four, they get really, really cool and serious and dramatic.
Are they adaptations on their earlier themes?
Yeah, on their earlier battle themes. Cool. And Nimona's, like, I really like Nimona's rematch. Her base theme is a little weak, so they don't have as much to build off of.
I agree.
Sorry, what were we talking about? Yeah, just how the set pieces don't really line up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In terms of music matching game, it's a little lacking, but that's not necessarily the music's fault.
It might just be that the game. I think I love Scarlet and Violet. Might be my favorite Pokemon experience since like Black and White, which is not saying a whole lot, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that Galar is my favorite soundtrack, but I don't really like Sword and Shield very much.
I had a good time.
So they're not necessarily correlated.
But yeah, I mean, I think Scarlet and Violet is a game that was a bit. It came out earlier than it should have. Maybe like Nintendo could have waited like one more generation or something to get the technical requirements that they needed to pull off something like that,
or even just another year.
Exactly, because like you have something like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, where it's
Xenoblade.
Like these games work on the Switch, and with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, open world games work on the Switch.
Yeah, and like you compare
that, you can pull that off.
The visual style of like Xenoblade is this is on the same system as Pokemon.
Xenoblade's a little less fair because it's not fully open world. They have open world areas,
sections. So if you want to go like fully open world, I get what you're saying. If you want to go full open world, Breath of the Wild is a fair comparison.
But also, full open world games have been done since like Skyrim or something. You know, like it's not a new idea.
Yeah, we don't want to smack the game. Like,
no,
I think the game is good.
Like all of this is like accompanied by I love Scarlet and Violet. I think it was a great game. I had a good time playing it.
And the music is really, really great. But like this particular area, the visuals, the style, the theming, it didn't get enough attention to support such good music. You know?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say so. So this all came from your second favorite fight theme.
Yeah, my second favorite fight theme was was the Nimona rematch, and my favorite area theme was Area Zero.
Right. Okay, and I've already talked about East Province, so okay, we're fine.
Okay.
I would like to jump into the gym battle theme. What do you think? I don't like it, but
I don't like it very much. Right. Did I even write down any notes? Moderately interesting, not a standout. It feels like a weaker version of the Gen 8 gym battle theme.
Yep.
Like, the chanting is uninspired at this point.
I think, okay, I've always been kind of a hater on the chanting. I'm no longer a hater on the chanting in Sword and Shield. I'm a hater
because this was so bad.
It was so, they were so clearly trying to ride on the coattails of like, this worked for this theme, let's use chanting to make it sound epic and cool. But in Sword and Shield it makes sense because you're in a huge soccer stadium. In Scarlet and Violet, you're just like in a restaurant.
There are people. Yeah, the theme was like built around.
There's
like
7 people watching you fight. It doesn't make as much sense to have a bunch of people chanting. You have people chanting in Sword and Shield because it's like it's in Britain. That's where like soccer tournaments are. People chant all the time in huge sports tournaments. It's not the same thing.
And it would be forgivable if it made it like sound amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I don't think it does. And like the base gym fight theme, it's. Especially coming off of Sword and Shield, it's just I don't care. It's jazzy and kind of grooving a little bit, I guess, but it's like whatever.
I don't hate the first part of it, but as soon as the chanting comes in, it just tanks.
I think the whole thing is just very mid for me. Not my favorite.
I agree. Yep, totally agree. The Titan theme is pretty decent. If we're continuing this trend of just like running through general battle themes, I don't dislike it. I really like the low piano in that song.
Sure.
It's going like pretty interestingly.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me some Kirby vibes a little bit, which is a positive.
I like Kirby.
But it doesn't really stand out either. It's sort of just going.
I'll take your word for it because that's one that I didn't re-listen to.
You don't even remember it at all.
I don't remember it that well. It definitely it never jumped out at me, I guess, but I never really. I also at the same time I never actively thought that it wasn't good. So
right, it's decent. It's doing some interesting stuff. One thing I wanted to bring up: the wild battle variations of the area themes. What do you think of those?
I think it's cool. I like it better than like stopping in your tracks and then transitioning to a wild Pokemon encounter theme.
Well, I mean, it still sort of does that. It doesn't, like we're talking about, it's not full vertical layering. It's still horizontal transitioning into this other track. It's just very similar to... now, the exception to that is actually in Inlet Grotto, like one of the very first areas. That does do the whole Fire Emblem style battle version. It's like exactly the same track, except it layers on the more intense instrumentation.
Oh.
And it works really, really well for Inlet Grotto. I kind of wish they'd done it for everything.
The one cave that you're in for like 3 minutes?
Yes. I want to highlight Inlet Grotto in general. Like, way better song than it should have been. Like, I love the effects on the synths, and the super low brass works really, really well for it. Yeah, the cave effect, like, it like I've mentioned before, this cave doesn't deserve music this good, you know?
Okay, I mean, yeah, I just can't remember it right now, but I recommend
giving it a listen. It'll be playing in the background as we talk here.
I'll have to listen to it as I bounce the audio, but yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. It's the song that, like, stuck out to me the most, or not the most, but the first song as I was listening to the soundtrack again that made me stop and go like, whoa, this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Inlet Grotto, the battle themes are good. I like them, but they could have been a little better integrated, maybe. They're still interesting, though.
Sure. What do you think of the town themes? Bit of a pivot, but
not such a big pivot.
I think Mesagosa's not bad.
Mesagosa makes me wish for death.
Oh, really? Cool.
I have that specifically written down in my notes. I should specify that I don't hate the theme itself, and I do quite like some of the variations, like the guitar variation you have when you're near that one guitarist. But like the theme overall that plays when you're riding just has this one saxophone that's just constantly blaring out the main melody just over and over. Just forever. And like you spend a lot of time in Mesagosa, like a lot of time. So just hear that forever over and over, it drives me insane when I'm playing the game.
All right, well, glad we touched
that's my
on
thoughts
that,
on Mesagosa. I'm sorry.
I
I don't hate the piece.
I
It's
didn't
just
have
poorly
anything
placed.
profound to say about Mesagosa other than, like, I thought it was fine. I don't know.
Decent song. Please don't make the saxophone do that in future songs. That's all I ask.
Thank you, Mr. Masada.
Yep. Or maybe Ichinose, one of you.
I wanted to talk about Montenevera specifically because I think it's great. It's
I don't
just
think
like
I know that
just
one.
a nice
I don't
little.
that...
It's almost like a lo-fi beat, but it's like it's.
Oh, it's actually it's an arrangement. I'm remembering now. It's an arrangement of the North area theme.
Oh, is
Except,
it really?
like, what I was talking about, the problem with the North area I mentioned before, where it's neither tense nor relaxing, Montenevera just throws all of that out and just makes it funky. And then it's great.
It's just a vibe, and it makes sense because the gym leader is like a DJ and a rapper.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love Ryan.
And I like to read that as she's taking the mediocre music of her surroundings and turning it great because of her musical skill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like Montenevera a lot,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's really cool. Did she have a unique gym battle theme? I think she did, but I can't remember.
I don't think so. It doesn't stick out to me. I didn't see it in the soundtrack.
If she didn't have a unique gym battle theme, that's such a missed opportunity. Come on, man.
I agree, but
or like a
Montenevera
remix,
itself
that would be
is
cool.
for the musical one in particular, yeah. But I don't think they've ever done anything like that.
I guess if they had done it, they would have done it.
Did Piers?
I was gonna say, did Piers have
something?
I don't know.
I don't think he did. No.
All right.
Anyway, still, Montenevera, very good. Other songs that I've, other town themes I've highlighted.
I don't really remember any. Not Zapapico.
I like the idea of Cascarafa.
Oh yeah, it sounds that's one that sounds very, very like old school Pokemon. I feel Cascarafa.
A little bit, but it's got like a very funky vibe as well. Like Montenevera's a little more low key. This is like I don't know, high key funky.
Yeah.
But they also don't have like a hook. Which, if you're going for that sort of atmosphere, you do need some sort of hook to really sell it. So
right.
I like the idea of it, but the execution is a little lacking.
Yeah. There's oh god, what's it called?
Oh.
The place with the auctions. I'm losing it. What's it called?
The seaside area?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking of?
That one. I like that one.
I don't remember that one. I'm sorry.
I don't remember it that much either, but I think it was cool. It sounded fun.
I'm sorry, people. There are a lot of songs on this soundtrack.
It's a very big soundtrack.
Like, they put more effort into this soundtrack than the rest of the game. Well, then that's probably not true.
To be fair, they had a lot of composers working on it.
With that many composers working on it, you can make an elaborate soundtrack in 1 year. Almost no matter how many devs you have working on a game, you can't make a game this crazy perfectly in 1 year. You know what I mean?
No.
So,
did it only have a 1 year development time? That's insane.
Well, it came out like a year after. It came out less than a year after Legends Arceus. And it was mostly the same team working on it.
They must have been developed alongside each other at some point or something.
I don't think they were.
That's insane.
Well, it probably had more time. It's not like it was developed in 8 months. That'd be insane.
Yeah.
You're right on that part. But like, it didn't have much time. All right.
Do you have much else to touch on?
I'll check through my notes
for Scarlet
real
Violet?
quick. For Scarlet and Violet. I like this Team Star battle theme, like the non-boss Team Star theme. I think it builds very well all throughout it, and then the peak that it's building to is satisfying. I like it.
Yeah, and it sets up the boss theme really well too.
Yeah, very similar themes overall, and the boss theme just goes crazier with it. I almost want to retouch on this Team Star boss. Like, those riffs that it has all throughout it they're very tasty.
They are delicious.
Absolutely. And like, I don't begrudge it not having a strong main melody, because it's supposed to be like chaotic.
How have we not brought this up yet? The grunt battle theme is amazing.
The grunt battle?
The grunt battle, the Team Star grunt.
That's what I was just talking about.
I thought you were talking about the raids. Yeah, no, the grunt battle is maybe better than the boss theme.
You think so? It's more structured, which I could see you liking that better.
God, I think it's... The only problem with it is that the battles are so short, and you can't get to the good part.
Actually, I wanted to bring something up in regards to the wild battle themes.
Okay.
The bass lines are going crazy in all of them.
Really?
Like, take a listen to especially in like South, but then in West when it's fast, the bass line is also doing like a mile a minute. It's insane. Like, please just take a listen to those the wild battle themes and like listen specifically for like the slap bass. That I want to see that bassist in action. Their hand is going to be bloody after they're done with it.
Oh my god,
it's beautiful.
I wonder how much of that was like live performance and how much of it was electronic.
MIDI. It sounds really good if it is an electronic bass. Like, usually electronic basses have like almost a distinct sort of sound. So if this is a MIDI, then they've done a great job disguising it.
Electronic music has gone crazy in recent years. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is MIDI. I wanted to discuss this as well. Like, this soundtrack, it feels like they could have gone for a full orchestration, I think. Like, less prolific series have, right? It feels weird for them to have gone so heavily MIDI.
Well, I mean, I think what I noticed, and this might not be true, is like the background instruments, like orchestration and stuff like that, or the orchestra, a lot of it maybe wasn't real and some of it was MIDI. A lot of the time when there's like a forefront instrument or something like a rhythm guitar or like a lead melody, a lot of those are live recordings from the sound.
Oh, you think so? The rhythm guitar I do buy, because that's a really hard sound to replicate digitally. So
I'd say so. It sounds very realistic for sure. If it's done digitally, then props.
I don't think the saxophone in Mesa Gosa is real.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that's a MIDI.
It might be
it
real.
makes me want to die.
You might be insulting a very
I'm hoping it's fake
right now.
so that nobody gets offended, but I don't think it is real. I think that's a MIDI, and that's part of why it's so grating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I see.
I think they could have gotten away with a live orchestra here, and it might have worked. Not even necessarily a live orchestra.
Well, it's a very orchestral soundtrack, you know.
Yeah, and it is also like, in terms of general feel of the soundtrack, it has those three components I talked about earlier. It's got the generic Pokemon style, which is maybe a harsh way to put it, but like, I don't know, the default trainer theme and the gym leader theme sort of falls into that.
The gym leader theme does not feel very generic to me, but I do see.
Yeah, maybe generic is the trainer theme in particular, which like, is super unimpressive. I'm just gonna be honest, like, it's maybe the weakest generic trainer theme of the whole series.
There's a lot of variety in the soundtrack, hey? There's a lot of like really, really good tracks, and then there's a lot of ones that are like, I don't remember this at all, and I listened to it 2 seconds ago.
Yeah. Like, it's a lot of ups and downs, but the ups are really high up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of my favorite like Pokemon tracks in general are from this game, I'd say.
Yeah. One thing, like, is it just me, or are a lot of these tracks really busy? Like, busier than they have to be. And that's part of why I really like the walking variants of each area theme, is because like, you get to strip down each of the songs to their core components, and then you really hear how good of compositions they are, right? You know? Yeah.
It never really made an impression on me on like how busy they were. I think some of them definitely are, especially some of the area themes. And maybe some of the boss themes as well.
A lot of the battle themes to me feel
I'd
like
say the champion,
they could use...
the champion and the gym fights are both pretty busy.
Yeah, the champion is very guilty of that in my mind. I feel like a lot of them could use more purposeful percussion, if that makes sense. Like, it sort of feels like they just want to go crazy with it to go crazy with it. Right. And it's not supporting the melody. You know, maybe that's a bit harsh. I don't know exact examples to show, but that's just the feeling I get.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh god, I think it's important to note with the champion theme, it's very busy, but it references so much music.
It does. It even references like the intro part that
it
references the original Pokemon theme is not my favorite.
No, but there's like Team Flare in there. There's like random just like references from old tracks, and because I remember watching a video one day of just like all 20 musical references in Geeta's theme. I'm like,
Jesus.
Why?
That might be why it sounds so disjointed.
That's what I'm saying. It's very busy and maybe for no reason.
I'm going to be honest. All those references were part of why I thought that it was made by Toby Fox. And I was like, did he just like want to make a billion Pokemon references in one song? Knowing that it's not by him, I have a lot more respect.
I remember at the end of our Mario Galaxy episode, you were like,
I got some words to say to Mr. Toby Fox.
No, you said that they did him dirty. I was wondering what you meant by that.
I thought they did.
I think I've debunked that.
Yeah, he has redeemed himself. Okay. You're right. I'm sorry for the clickbait in the Galaxy episode after
That's
that.
really fun because I remember listening to that when I was editing, and I was like, what did he mean?
It was a mystery. It was to set up next time.
Yeah, it was just a cliffhanger that led nowhere.
No, it had a payoff. The payoff was Toby Fox has always been great, and we should never slander him.
Yeah. So we're at like an hour. I wonder, do you want to go for the segment of if you liked this game, what should you listen to?
I mean, do we have any closing thoughts on the Scarlet and Violet soundtrack first?
We kind of, I get like really broadly. I think it's good. It was a fine soundtrack. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing crazy. I would probably put it personally on like the lower half of Pokemon soundtracks overall.
Maybe.
But probably like, not at the very bottom.
Well, that's difficult because Pokemon music is incredible.
It's overall Pokemon music is very good.
I'd say X and Y is maybe a little bit weak.
Yeah, X and Y is the one I'd probably have dead last. Spoilers, we probably shouldn't give our whole list until we get to them. I really like the X and Y soundtrack even then, so even if I had put it on the bottom, it wouldn't be an indictment or anything.
Yeah, but then, but even comparing the soundtrack to like Black and White or Heart Gold Soul Silver, it's difficult to do that, I feel.
Yeah, it's not quite in that ballpark.
Like the precedent is just insane with Pokemon music. Yeah. And it kind of lives up to it to some
when it
extent.
Does.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, it doesn't.
It's I guess the one thing going for it is that it's not a clear like loser when it comes to the Pokemon music. Like it's good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think so.
It's a Pokemon soundtrack.
And it has some real bops. So,
Yeah.
What I'd say, the last thing I got to say about the soundtrack is, actually, we can tie this into, if you like this soundtrack, you should listen to other songs. For me in particular, this soundtrack really sounds a lot like Kirby music in particular. Especially games like the 3DS ones, Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, as well as Return to Dreamland for the Wii and its port on the Switch.
Interesting.
It really evokes those feelings to me with the every so often they throw the choir in there, but it's very sparse. The trumpet composition and the synths in the future past sort of styles, that all evokes like a really strong Kirby feel.
Yeah.
And if you like that sort of style, definitely check those games out. Kirby in general we'll probably go through some Kirby games at some point on here.
Yeah. So for me, I often felt, especially with Area Zero and stuff like that, there were definitely times when I was like, this doesn't feel Pokemon-like. The music doesn't sound Pokemon-like to me at all. It sounds almost like action RPG or something. To me, because I don't want to compare it directly to Xenoblade, but I do want to say, like, it almost sounds like a Xenoblade prototype in some ways.
For those
like
types
Area
of
Zero,
areas.
like I think, I'd say that if something about the Scarlet and Violet soundtrack hit you in a different way that Pokemon music hasn't before, listen to Xenoblade and see if you like it. I think
sure.
Similar vibes, similar direction. I think if the Scarlet and Violet soundtrack were left to cook for another year, it might have hit something similar, but.
So, like some peaks that Xenoblade can get.
Yeah,
and I'll say if you like the more traditional-ish Pokemon sounds that are in here that aren't quite as weird, Kirby is probably the place to go. So,
sick.
I think that sort of rounds it out. Yeah. All right,
Jack.
That's it for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. What game have you been playing?
No, you know what? I went first last time. It's your turn to go first.
Okay.
What have you been playing or listening to recently?
Well, I've been kind of back on my Tears of the Kingdom bender, but beyond that, I've been playing Cassette Beasts, which is cool. It's a Pokemon-like / Shin Megami Tensei-like game, where you collect monsters by recording them on a cassette tape.
Ooh.
And your move sets are based on stickers that you stick on your cassette tape, and you can like edit them. Like some monsters can only take certain moves, but like you can like if you record a monster, you can like grab all of its moves and peel the stickers off and use them for different monsters. It's very cool. I think it's great. It's like
that sounds like an interesting concept. What's the soundtrack like?
Well, so far I'm kind of left a bit disappointed by it, just because I think it sounds great, but I think that for a game that's so clearly based on like music and like based on like musical like imagery with like cassettes and stuff like that, it could be done better. They could do something more with it. But also I've only played through like a quarter of the game, so it's like there's only so much I can get from that. They do this cool thing where if you're in a town, or at least if you're in like the main town, it's an example of vertical layering, where if you're outside, it's a different theme, and when you're indoors, there's like vocals playing as well, like an actual like sung song. It's like with lyrics and everything. I think it's great. I think it works really well.
You know, there's another game that I can think of that has vertical layering in that sort of style, but maybe I'll save that for a little bit later.
For a future episode.
Well, we'll just have to find out. Yeah. What I've been playing lately is a game called Omega Strikers. It's sort of popped off a little lately. And the reason I want to bring it up is because the soundtrack is very, very interesting. It's very high energy because it's like a Mario Striker style air hockey sports game. That is also like, in the League of Legends style almost, like with cooldowns and all that. And the soundtrack varies from like, Castlevania style tunes to anime openings. I don't know. Very, very high energy all across the board. And nice. Each character has their own theme, which is very emblematic of them. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of the game or the style in general, I'll say. It's not really my cup of tea, but the music does a very good job of getting the energy across at least, and that's what you want from a game like that. So,
sure. Yeah, I've been meaning to check it out. It looks kind of cool. Don't know if it's entirely my vibe, but we'll see.
It's free, at least, so if you try it out and you don't like it, you won't have lost anything.
Is it out on Switch?
Except your time. Yeah, they did actually make a Switch release just recently, so you're in luck.
I may do that. We'll see. All right.
Yeah. All right,
that's
next
the
time
episode.
On Stages of Sound, a game with the vertical layering I was just talking about.
What
do you not remember?
I don't remember what we put next.
We put next time was going to be Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Okay, I couldn't remember which order we put it in. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a list, but we've narrowed it down. Hollow Knight is going to be next time, an indie game that's very, very dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sweet. I'm excited. I love that soundtrack.
Yeah, ditto. I know you don't have as much experience in that game as I do, but we both have experience with the soundtrack. So
yes.
We'll have a lot to talk about.
Yes. I'm excited. And you're excited too, and you'll tune in next week, listener.
Yes, we know you
Thank
are.
you for being excited.
All right. All right, listeners, exit soundstage left.
Oh, hold on. Can you do that again? There was someone was like talking through my microphone.
All right, listeners, exit soundstage left.
I thought it was stage right.
So,
the backstage doesn't change.
All right, listeners, exit soundstage right, quickly. We don't have time.
Someone pull the fire alarm.